Wisconsin's the most egregious. We know the details. We spent months on this thing. As bad as Arizona is, the cesspool down in Georgia with those election officials in Fulton County, as bad as you're going to see it in Pennsylvania, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep it, Wisconsin is the most in your face and most egregious.
We're ready. It's Talking Racine back at you. Mr. George Myers to my left.
Howdy.
And Jim Spodek.
Hey.
The esteemed Jim Spodek.
Yeah.
Although they didn't really recognize that the last time I read about you in the newspaper.
No, I usually don't get that.
And I'm Dr. Jorgen. Except this is episode 234.
Yeah.
Wow.
A progressive, our first progressive episode.
A thousand more and we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Well, our first subject of the day is the vaccination and what's being done here. They're going, well, you got the copy from Lake County, Illinois. There's a directive or what would you call that? Instructions, guidelines, whatever, for the people that are going around door to door to ask people if they've been vaccinated, do they want to be vaccinated, and I think it behooves anybody who's doing that to be careful with how they word what they're doing. Now, you recognize or you identified some things that are kind of problematic there.
Well, door to door, I mean, I don't know. Well, here's some of the stuff that I thought was questionable. They do a kind of if you're a volunteer that's going to go door to door and ask somebody if they've been vaccinated, what they want to do is collect the data, and they actually have in the back of their is they want to know the building, the floor, the apartment, if you've been vaxxed, if you've not been vaxxed, are you interested in being vaxxed? I guess they kind of go through a little question and answer and try to talk people into giving them information. Don't be too aggressive, what have you. You may get some people that are going to be aggressive towards you, to be careful. And
it's a little personal when you start asking if they've been vaccinated.
That's part of it.
Your medical records are theoretically very private.
Well, if you get COVID and you go to the hospital, they're going to get all kind of information from you.
Well,
yeah, but not at your doorstep.
One of them was to ignore the no soliciting signs. If there's no soliciting, they ignore that. You're doing important work, and that's kind of how they put it. Report your work back to us because what your information is going to be vital to, the statistics they're looking for. But yet they come back and then they say, don't be asking for any personal information. Well, what are you there for?
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Says that?
Yeah, don't ask for personal information.
It's like whether you've been vaccinated or not. Don't ask that.
Well, that's what they're telling
that
these
sounds
volunteers.
Like personal information to me.
But basically what they're trying to do is set it up to say we're not really going to be intrusive, but we kind of are going to be intrusive.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm saying. How do you get the information?
They probably made some mistakes writing that thing up. Really, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with them going around knocking on doors and saying, if you would like to be vaccinated, we can facilitate that for you. And don't ask, have you been vaccinated?
Well, I think
because that's when you start getting into personal information.
Well, that's the point. I agree with you on that, Doc. That's why if they're saying don't ask for personal information, I'm saying why are they asking if you've been vaccinated? Mm-hmm. If they just want to come up and, like if I was going to go up to a door and say, do you know what your personal rights are? And then I start talking about their personal rights to them at the door. That'd be fine.
I got a right now to answer the door.
but if I start asking about when was the last time that you violated somebody's rights or something like that, that's getting a little more.
Are you still beating your wife?
Yeah. So, there you go.
But I guess I go back, and I kind of go back to the Washington when they first talked about doing this door to door, and I got a problem with it. I got to be honest with you. I don't like somebody coming up to my door asking me anything about anything. To tell you the truth, Jehovah's Witness or anybody else, I don't care for it. They did say that it's going to be volunteers. It's going to be like clergy and the rest. I highly doubt that the clergy is coming to my door to ask me about vaccinations. I mean, I think this is a big sales job. I don't know why you have to go door to door. I think people get this figured out. I mean, they're not living in a cave somewhere, and
I don't have a problem with them going to door to door, as long as they do it appropriately.
Okay, let's do this, Doc. What if they went door to door and said, we can get you registered to vote door to door, and we give you a card,
A card that explains where to go to get registered
no,
or what to do
go
to get
right
registered?
there. The hell, you're doing this basically the same thing. I mean, we can do this, but we can't get them to give them an ID to vote. I can't figure out how you get an ID to vote, but we can certainly get there to get a vaccination. I mean, to me, it's a...
They don't tell you how to get an ID when they go to the door?
No, I'm talking about voting. They can't seem to find. The big deal was people can't show their ID at the polls because they have a difficult time getting it.
Well, some people do.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then let's send these people around getting IDs to people that have difficulty getting their ID.
Well, I'm fully in favor of that.
Then why are we, the same thing here. But see, it depends on what your perspective is. I want to shove this jab in you, and I look at it like that. I don't want it, and here's the reason why. Now it's all led up to something.
All right,
I actually,
bring it on.
when they talked about, we're not going to keep the data on any of this. Well, that's BS. I'm going to put this on the screen because this is my data, and they have my data. And I went to the Wisconsin Immunization Registry, and I'm going to put the link up there where you can go to and see what you've got. Now, obviously,
I noticed they don't have the COVID vaccine on here.
Well, that's because I didn't get it. But it says recommended. The flu shot, recommended. The booster, recommended. I did have a tetanus shot in 2014, which shows up on here.
I didn't want to know about that. Did you want to know about that, George?
There you go.
I thought that was
out there.
on April 17th, April 17th, 2014, he got a tetanus shot.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, but I'm just
Do
saying.
you think we still want him on the program?
3 more years, it's time for a booster.
Right. But I'm just saying, this is where I have a little bit of a
Yeah, it's
problem
got down here. He's due for a booster shot in another 3 years.
Yeah.
Nothing personal on here.
Well, here's the thing. We've talked about this before. My chances of getting COVID or maybe even having it, I don't know. But the odds are I'm going to get this shot for odds that are 1 in 99, 98. I'm going to stick with my odds, that's just my personal preference.
Well, not only that, but it's coming. The statistics are coming down. This is the most dangerous flu shot ever produced.
Yeah. So
Actually, the infection rate is 20% right now.
Well,
So it's 1 in 5.
but here's the thing: is it?
But does that include people who have already got are immune from it? I doubt it.
Well, all I'm saying
What do you
is,
mean? Does it count people that are immune?
20% of the people immune are apt to get the flu. Is that what's that? What's that 20% say?
That's the infection rate.
All right.
There's been
But
there's 176 million people that are unvaccinated, 33.8 million cases. That's a 19% infection rate. The 157 million that have been vaccinated don't count in that population.
in Lake County,
So they're saying 20% of the people who have not been vaccinated are getting infections.
Right, 19%. Yeah.
19%. Okay.
That's the rate it's been going at.
Okay.
well, I'll tell you what,
Well, it's different than the 1% you said, is all I'm saying.
okay, well, my chance, the way I look at it is, I got a 1 in a 99 chance of dying, I guess, from COVID. And that's the way I look
Oh,
at it.
that's right.
Yeah.
You're looking at the infection rate. Yeah, well,
He's at
for infection,
infection, right.
yeah, I'm not too worried about that
Right,
myself.
but here's the thing.
Gee, I might get sick. Wow, I better
No.
just give up all my rights because I might get sick.
Okay, well, here in Lake
No,
County,
nobody's asking you to give up all your rights.
Well,
I
it
mean,
sounds like they are.
they're recommending you
Whether
get
I get to go to
vaccination if
business,
you
whether I
don't
get
wanna
who
get
I can,
COVID.
what parties I can go to, which ball games I can go to, whether I can
That's
open
a
my
whole
business.
different thing from immunization, though.
But that's the rights I'm giving up because I might get sick.
all right, well, there you are. There it is. Anyway, so that's our feelings. So,
All right.
But anyway, I really don't have a problem with them going to door. But like you say, if you got a no solicitation sign on your door, that means you don't want to be talked to. So
Pretty much.
don't knock on a door.
I mean, if you did this with, let's just use Jehovah's Witness. That was a good example. I mean, how much different is it? Somebody knocks on your door. Geez, do I really want this Jehovah's Witness giving me the awakening? I mean, really. I mean, some people find that,
Some people like it. Some people get converted. If it wasn't working for them, they wouldn't do it. So they are getting some recruitment.
well, they're going to get some recruitment on this vaccination. Now, in Lake County, they state that only 15% of their population in Lake County is vaccinated. So, this is their I'll tell
That's
you.
low, yeah.
Yeah, it's low, and I think that there's a reason. You can't tell me that these people in Lake County don't have television and they can't get any of this information. It's just, it's obvious they don't want it. If they wanted it, they could probably get it.
Yeah. Well, why don't they want it? Maybe they don't have all the information.
Well, why do black people not want it?
Maybe they have all the information.
And they're going after minorities.
If you give them information that completes their information bank, at least then they can decide.
I agree. I'm just saying there's a lot of
understanding.
information out there. I'm not claiming that I know all the information, but I have certainly seen plenty of information that's saying this is a very dangerous practice to take this shot. Now, that doesn't mean that's right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that type of information is out there. There's also information out there that says this is your best bet, is to take this shot. So when you say maybe the reason they aren't doing it because they don't have enough information, I'm just saying maybe they're not taking because they have a lot of information.
But is it accurate?
That's the whole question. Yeah. Whether it's or against it, is it?
What are
accurate?
some of the dangers that you recognize that are inherent with getting vaccinated?
I did not come to this program ready to go with that. Other than people, there's things going with. Like the five airline pilots that suddenly got very sick and had, when they were up too high and they'd all just gotten vaccinated, and all of a sudden, I don't know if they died or they were incapacitated, but they got up there. Dangers
I think your numbers are, it's out there. I mean, there's always risk in anything you do.
Lots of information.
But I don't think
absolutely
that...
there's risk. But my personal feeling is that the risks of getting it are lower than the risks of not getting it. But it's a matter of choice. I think you should just make sure you have information in both directions.
My body, my choice.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to say.
Are you pro-abortion?
See, I just threw that today. That's what I figured. That'll stir somebody up.
I just don't think it's fair to say that because they're not getting a shot, it's because they don't have enough information. I don't think that's a fair statement to say.
I didn't say that. What you said is maybe they're not getting it because they got enough information.
Right.
So
that's all I'm saying.
I was just presenting a counterbalance to that.
And then whichever is, the correct information is really hard to say. And it's hard. None of us, at least nobody that I know, has got a lab where they're actually been looking at it underneath the microscope and doing all that.
George, we're not going to have this data for 10 years from now.
Well, yeah, you're getting a word
We had a lab right here in Racine,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we're getting that information from people that have done that, and now the question is, because you're still getting two sides of a story, is who is telling the truth, or are they just running into different situations so they come up with different answers because this is so many variables out in society? I don't know. I'm not saying they're all lying. I'm not saying they're all telling the truth. I'm just saying, boy, you've got decisions to make, and it's not up to the government to be telling us what to do with this. And if it comes back again, we better not go through this again. Because that's what they're talking about already. They're talking about the next wave coming through with this new variant on this COVID. And
actually, the chances of the variants would probably be reduced if there were more people vaccinated.
That's what you say. That's not
well,
what...
that's what the statistics say.
I don't know if the statistics show that or not. That's the problem, Doc.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyway, what's our next topic here?
We're going to go to the national news on Racine, Wisconsin.
Do we have a different theme for national news? Is there?
Well, Racine made national.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe. Little Midwest, Racine, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't for the new flavor of Kringle.
No, but this is one of the things that we had talked about earlier. We talked about the Zuckerberg money that was funneled to Racine, and Racine was the hotbed.
Yeah.
And now the national scene is looking at Wisconsin and saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" Talking Racine, by the way, was really the first ones that covered that and really kind of broke a lot of that information to the Racine public. I might add the Journal Times hasn't brought anything out about it. But
I'm sure they'll have something this week.
Yeah,
probably tomorrow.
You guys watch it. I'll send you some notes. But anyway, I got a video here. We can start out and kind of.
All right.
If you want to.
Videos are always good.
Yeah.
Let's do, Eric. You've got some controversial news out of Wisconsin. Walk us through what happened in Wisconsin. What have you found?
Right. Thanks for having me on, Steve, and thanks for acknowledging Thomas More Society and Amistad Project. Investigation is that the Zuckerberg money went through Center for Tech and Civic Life, the Chicago organization, and then it ended up like $10 million of Zuckerberg money went to election administration in what they dubbed the Wisconsin Five Cities: Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Kenosha, and Racine. The three mayors of Racine, Kenosha, and Green Bay were all buddies, Democrats in the General Assembly, very politically astute, knew what they were doing. And without anyone knowing, Racine passed a resolution taking $100,000 of Center for Tech and Civic Life money to apply for the $9 million. And so really, the Center for Tech and Civic Life was designing a grant application, paying the mayors $100,000 for their signatures, all to affect election administration. Now, if you listen to them, it's innocuous. It's just about COVID pandemic. When you read the Wisconsin Safe Voting Plan, which only applied to the Wisconsin Five Cities, I've identified about 25 contractual provisions which basically distinguish between geography and between demographic groups for targeting votes. And so you have a privately funded, government-administered plan to target votes in these urban areas, and within those areas, historically, underrepresented groups and so forth. So they were targeting minorities, low-income people, and they were targeting certain geographies, the Wisconsin Five Cities, communities within the Wisconsin Five Cities. And that's all unconstitutional under Bush v. Gore, the Sixth Circuit case that Obama won, where they said you can't favor one group for in-person voting over another.
But here's the point, is that, Wisconsin, although a pretty liberal state in many regards, has very tight voting laws about early voting and mail-in ballots. We've had, the commission with Knutson and people looking at it. How is it you guys are finding this out now? Why we're not a Republicans? It's a Republican-controlled legislature, but democratically controlled executive branch. Why is this just coming up now, and why is this such a shocking surprise to people?
Well, I think that people on our side are just far too trusting of the government. The government is, basically the problem that needs to be solved. The government doesn't represent the people anymore, so the people have to declare, leaders declare that they're the leaders, in a populist moment. Now, the Wisconsin Five mayors are personally accountable. They signed off on this Wisconsin State Voting Plan with these 20-plus provisions that specifically say we're going to increase turnout in our cities. We're going to do it this way. We're going to get these preferred services to give access to the in-person voting and absentee voting. And the rest of Wisconsin was left behind.
I kind of want to bring a point up, though, when you talk about these mayors signed it personally. Now, we've seen the mayors skirt past this type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But they did sign these contracts with Zuckerberg with their signature on it. So they personally, these contracts were illegal. They're going to prove that they've been illegal. And obviously they're saying, well, they're not illegal. It was just, funding that came in. Well, it had a lot of strings attached, even had a clawback.
Now,
but they signed
I can't remember. Did they sign anything before they actually went to the council and got approval?
I think that contract...
I know they were at least in discussions.
Well, you have to remember, when he talks about it was brought through the Common Council in Racine. It wasn't brought through in Kenosha and Green Bay and the rest of them. It was all done through Racine. So when they signed those contracts, it really wasn't the council in Green Bay, Kenosha, the rest of them. It all was funneled through Racine. So that Common Council in Racine was actually the linchpin for all this money to come into Wisconsin. And Corey Mason signed that contract just like the other mayors. So did they have authorization? That's going to be a touchy point.
Well, and the other thing was it a legal contract? Were they committing an illegal act there? And a lot of times, we've seen it here in Racine, where under Dickert, he did some illegal activities while he was campaighing, and that time it wasn't illegal, but it was
he libeled somebody.
It was libelous activities. But the argument came up. Letney pushed this was that the mayor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 24/7. So therefore, all that stuff that he did that was libelous is coverable by the city. But at the same time, when it comes to something that's flat out illegal, in other words, the mayor, while he's mayor, can't stand up and shoot one of the aldermen and say, "Well, I did it while I was the mayor, so therefore I did it in an official capacity." And you have to, I know.
What was the older person armed?
When it's a criminal activity, I think you got a little different situation
You
there.
do,
where
but
he's,
are you
not
going to
necessarily-
find prosecution? Because I want to go into when he talks about, do you have, why is it such a surprise to the Republicans?
I thought that was a real interesting
Yeah.
question, and I've watched enough of these Bannon movies to know that Bannon doesn't just pull questions out of the air. He knows something about the situation, and he will formulate a question so that his guest will answer that question and come up with the answer that he's expecting. So Bannon thinks there's some reason that the Republicans were in charge of all this were suddenly caught by surprise with all this. He's saying, wait a second, what's going on? And you know, that happened a long time ago. Here we are in July of 2021 just finding this out. Could you explain how that happens? And I think he knows.
I think there's
Kind of
some
what
dirt.
we know.
I think there's some
Yeah.
dirt in the Republican Party. That's
Well,
what-
there's dirt in politics,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
both parties. And
but why so adamant against doing an audit?
And I
mean,
think he's got particular people in mind too.
Yeah,
I think he's
you're
some
right.
of the Republican power structure. The Republican is not a grassroots organization as it stands right now. We're finding that out as we've seen what the law reads, and the way the Republican Party is operating. The two are not working together. The law and the way the Republican Party is working. So we have a kind of a top group, you know, that is controlling the Republican Party, and the question is why weren't they coming forward with this? They must have known about it.
They were part
Why
of it
weren't they?
involved, I think, George.
That's right.
I think they were involved with it.
And that's Bannon's question: is why are we finding out about this?
What was
over
your
a year
line there?
later?
You cheated, or how's it go?
you cheated fair and square.
Yeah,
You cheated fair and square, so I get to cheat next
Yeah.
time fair and square.
Well, I think they all cheat all the time.
Well,
you know, I mean, and if it's not out and out cheating and doing something illegal, then there's all kind of campaign financing that gets involved.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
we know a lot of that is
And
questionable
I would not be
legality.
surprised if there was money involved in this too. It's all going to come out. I mean, I think there's enough
Well,
pressure.
what's that
now.
$120,000 they spent to get another $9 million?
Yeah.
That's
$100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that came from the Civic and Happy Life or whatever the hell it was.
Zuckerberg.
I became very happy.
But is that an appropriate use of those
Well,
funds?
absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, we know Corey he's got no compunction about spending things that they're not intended to be spent on.
I think what happens, and I think he explains it a little bit too, is that, you know, it's just in your face. I mean, Wisconsin's not like, you know, hiding anything. Here it is. We did it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think now, I don't know if this is the part where he talks about, hey, the Republicans are a joke. And I have to agree. I mean, you're telling me you're not smart enough to see this, and the Democrats, well, we're just going to do it because the Republicans know we're going to do it, and well, we'll figure it out later. Maybe what the Republicans will do. to
Yeah,
us.
if we come up with a little bit of a wrinkle to get us over the top this time, well, we won't do it again if you catch us at it.
Right.
And hopefully we'll catch you
And then you
on
take
what
law
you're doing
enforcement.
next time.
Then put law enforcement
Oh,
in there who
geez,
says,
yeah.
well, we can't find anything. There's these officers that Voss has hired. I can guarantee you they're not going to find anything because they're not looking for anything.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It's
They
like
should
it's like
be looking for that promenade money is what they ought to be looking for one
Exactly.
thing.
it'd be like the police going in with a search warrant to search the drug dealer's apartment, but the drug dealer gets some of his buddies to come in and search the apartment for the police. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, gee, we can't find a thing here. You know?
Or the drug dealer is being searched for money, and the cops don't find any, but there's some missing from the drug dealer when he checks around after they've left.
Right.
I mean, that's happened too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
It's
point
just
is,
all dirty up and down.
if you're going to want to do a search warrant, you have to get the antagonistic people to do the search warrant. They're the ones that are going to find it. The police have to do the searching, is what I'm saying.
Okay, George. The Campaign and Election Committee has subpoena power. They got a judge to give them subpoena power. They've subpoenaed no one. Now that's
No,
run
not
pretty
yet.
much by Republicans.
Yeah, it's pretty lackadaisical.
Yeah. We're going to get to the bottom of this, but we're not going to subpoena anybody, even though we have subpoena power. We're going to look, you know, it's like a fight.
What do you
We're gonna
think they'd
pump our
say?
chest up, but we're never getting in that fight.
What do you think they'd say if a year later you asked them, well, who did you subpoena and what did you find out? Well, you know, we checked into that very thoroughly. We had a committee looking at that and, you know, good people on that committee, and we didn't really come up with anything. There were a few things that were maybe a little bit questionable, but they weren't out and out legal.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
that's
could
what-
write this excuse for them.
Oh, Perfectly.
Yeah, I probably could write a book, phrases to
You
use
just
and
pull up
excuses to
yeah,
make.
exactly.
Oh, my God.
All right. Well, let's go back. Want to finish him off?
Yeah,
Sure.
finish him off.
But we got them dead to rights, and I got to tell your audience, you got to trust the courts because we're fighting a battle over our culture, our democracy, and if we lose the courts, we're lost. We're not protected from prosecutors. We're not protected from civil lawsuits by the government. So we have to trust the courts, and I think we're going to prevail in this one because the left put down everything in writing. Can you believe that? Private money to 5 Wisconsin cities to increase the vote. I mean, what could be more wrong than that? What could be more left?
He's a good guy, but I think he's wrong in that statement. You have to trust the courts. I think what we're doing now is we're counting on the courts. We're relying on them to do their job to help us uncover this information and get things straightened out. But we have to watch them and what they're doing. You can't just trust it to them and say, okay, we're going to let you do it, because they have not shown that much trustworthiness in the courts. In fact, we bring out, the one judge where we think one judge and all who we think we can trust, and the rest of them we just don't.
Yeah,
we have to watch them every step.
Don't mention
they take.
his name, by the way, because they'll go
Frederickson,
after
I'm not
him.
going to mention his name. I won't.
No, he's a marked man.
I'll not mention his name.
He probably is a marked man. You don't know.
But no, the point is that I disagree. I like a lot what he's doing. I just don't think he really means that. I think if he went back and looked at it, he'd be saying, well, what I really meant to say was we're counting on the courts to do the right thing.
Well, I think he's saying we hope we can trust the courts.
Well, I mean,
If we
I
can't
think he's
trust the
pushing
courts,
it
we're really
to the
screwed,
corruption of the courts. Let's just say they start getting payoffs and certain things happen, and then prosecutors are going after people they don't like, and the government starts to sue individuals in civil court because, well, we don't like what you said or did. You do have a court system that could be very powerful and destructive to a nation and to individuals.
It can help a lot. It can be the salvation, or it can really mess things up.
Yeah.
And we just saw some changes in the appellate court with Lisa Neubauer, which shows that, well, maybe something's straightening out. We don't know exactly what went on there, but it shows there's a good sign. But that doesn't mean we're just saying, "Oh, okay, all right, everything's good now, and we can just relax."
I think people have to be
get
diligent on watching all of government.
All right,
Well,
let's get back
that's
to
the way
Eric.
this type of this type of country, a democratic republic, is. That's the way it's set up. That citizens have to be vigilant, and when they're not,
That's the point, Doc.
Yeah.
In questions of power, let's now hear more. On confidence in man, to bind them down from issue by the change of the Constitution. That's Thomas Jefferson. But it's up to us to bind them down, not count on somebody else to bind them down. The people have to do it.
I believe it because it's Eric. They think that the Republicans are a bunch of pies. If it's not for you guys, without raising some money from the common man and fighting this fight against long odds, against the money of Zuckerberg and the power of the Democratic Party and really the power of the state, they put it in writing because they think that this is controlled opposition. The people are just up there a bunch of marshmallows. Wisconsin's the most egregious. We know the details. We spent months on this thing. As bad as Arizona is, the cesspool down in Georgia with those election officials in Fulton County, as bad as you're going to see it in Pennsylvania, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep it. Wisconsin is the most in your face and most egregious.
well, the one thing I disagree with him on is he kind of portrays the Republicans as victims.
Well,
I think they're
I didn't
all.
get that. I got him.
Yeah, he says
He's telling
they're
them
too trusting.
He's telling her they're
well, I think the attorney
pieces
thinks
of
that-
mush. He says they got no fortitude. They're stupid. That type
I
of
don't know.
thing.
Georgia's stupid like a fox. They realize if I can throw a little picture over here and a activity over here, you're not going to look over here.
Well, I understand what
You know?
I know what you're coming. You're coming with a trade-off thing where
Yeah.
they're not. Bannon doesn't see it that way. He sees that why haven't they got the fortitude to get up and do something?
I'll
about
tell you
it?
what I think is this is nationally. His war room is viewed by a lot of people, and a lot of people that are probably looking at election fraud or integrity or whatever you want to call it. But I think Bannon is setting up Wisconsin. That's what I think. And I don't think it's just by accident that he's got him on and asking those questions, because I think there's some dirt, and he talks about it, the most egregious of all states. I don't see that necessarily, but you know what? I mean, when you set something up,
Well, one of
Creates
the
chatter. Yeah.
one of the complaints about, not so much on this program, but others, when he's talking about this written agreement, he says they put it in writing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's with our mayor. Now, Corey Mason isn't always mentioned, but when he's talking about Wisconsin, the central focus of this whole thing is sitting right here in Racine with Corey Mason. But what he's saying is that they committed these crimes, and he said it did it right in the open. They put the thing in paper and signed it.
George.
That's what he's talking about, egregious.
Here's a question
you know,
I'd like to ask. Why did they feel comfortable doing that?
They just feel they can get away with anything, is what
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
They just,
And nobody's going to call them on a carpet on it.
Yeah.
And if citizens aren't watching, it just goes right on through.
Yeah.
No problem. I've seen it. I've seen it so many times in Racine. They just wash it through. It's illegal as hell. Washes right through. Aldermen, my God, are they
Well,
they're scary almost.
We've
Yeah,
seen
the
it.
15 enablers. I don't know.
It's just unbelievable.
We've seen this Machinery Row river of corruption, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like
It's appropriate. It was by the river. Yeah.
it's you know, it's like don't worry about it. We'll get
Yeah.
go through it and you know. And that's not. I don't want to get any more details of that because we could get totally over there.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
But
Nobody will notice.
The same thing was going as nobody will notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of think that Racine and Wisconsin, I think, are now in the crosshairs of national.
We're rising to national prominence with
Something's going to happen. But there is good news. You know, I mean, and that's our final topic. A grand announcement this week. Foxconn's going to build electric cars. Is that exciting?
I got a little video. Want to watch it? I got a little video. Let me
All
just
right,
play it.
Bring out the trumpets.
Just in, Foxconn has taken another step in its quest to make an electric car in Mount Pleasant. The company sent us this statement saying in part, quote, as part of the site selection process, Foxconn and Fisker have engaged with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to discuss plans for electric vehicle manufacturing. The car is expected to be in production by late 2023.
Oh, man. There was a great promise there.
What a relief.
2023.
What a relief. Finally going to do
2023,
something.
we're gonna have-
2023?
Yeah, electric cars.
2 years?
It's nothing. Time flies.
Yeah.
Look how long.
Oh,
look how
22
long
years,
we've
2
been
years.
waiting for
Yeah,
TV
right.
sets.
All right.
How long have we been waiting for televisions?
Yeah.
Big screens.
Two
Big
years
screens.
for cars.
What's another
is
2
nothing.
years? Yeah. And where were the
2023.
televisions?
Now,
So what you like to do these little surveys? What do you think the odds are that there's ever going to be any cars built
Well,
down there? You give it a percentage.
I go 0.
You go 0. George?
If they had said they were starting next week, I might have said, 50, 60%. But when they tell me 2 years down the road,
Yeah.
I'm down there with Jim. I'm around 3 or 5%. You know,
I'm going
don't
with
see
3. That
You're
was
going with 3?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, 3%. Because it could happen by accident.
Yeah, that's about the only way it's going to happen. I mean, and
Whoops,
it's all,
what's this car doing out here?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
just going back to it.
Put an electric motor in there.
If you guys remember, you guys did the financial breakdown on Foxconn. That was maybe
Yeah.
a couple years ago, and you broke down the numbers. Well, in 2023, they're at the top dollar. They got to pay the most amount of taxes, and all this is starting to come together now at 2023. My think is this is all political to keep the heat off.
Yeah, I think we should slow down on that tax thing a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
they're going because they got the cars
we got
coming
cars
now.
coming
So
here. This is
you
going to
know,
be huge.
we shouldn't hold them to that. We should give them a little leeway.
Right. See, to me, it's just it comes out right at the time, and it just kind of fits right into that 2023 where the numbers are going to just all cross over each other. And
oops, well, we can't. We don't. Let's not put any pressure on them.
right, let's make sure that car company shows up.
Yeah, well,
Ay.
pretty exciting news. I think you're all just as excited as we are.
What a great high point.
Yeah, we're going to go. We've had enough of this. And if you haven't had enough, go watch an old episode. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here.